All right, what's up, my friends? Welcome. Something a little bit different today. Of course, Bloomburrow 10 New Brewers is tomorrow. That's coming out soon. Bloomburrow's very, very exciting. But we're in like a limbo period right now at Magic. Realistically, Standard's going to rotate. Limited's obviously Bloomburrow. We can't play that yet. Modern's waiting for a Nadu ban. Legacy's waiting for a Grief ban. Historic's a disaster. Pioneer's like the one like stable format. But, realistically looking for fun things to do before Bloomburrow comes out. And Airball Andrew, friend of mine, fellow content creator. I've hung out with him in the Decked Out crew a number of times and at events. And frankly, just love those guys, honestly. And Airball was talking about wanting to get better at Magic, basically, playing at RCQs, trying to take that next step. Airball made a Twitter post a few weeks ago, feeling like he had plateaued. So I used to coach. I don't coach anymore. I don't really have time. But, was looking for a fun content opportunity. It worked out really, really well and kind of a cool thing to do. So today we're going to be we're going to be talking with Airball and doing a bit of an inventory at first. One of the things I would always do coaching, the very first thing we do is kind of create an inventory of who Airball is as a Magic player, or whoever being coached is as a Magic player. Kind of figure out how long you've been playing so I can get an idea of where you're at and the things you need to learn. And it's also just a good thing to do. I think that it's hard to be realistic about yourselves at times because you're just biased. Because it's yourself, obviously, having an outside source kind of talk you through it, figure out where you're at, what you need to work on, what your goals are is very, very important. Strengths, weaknesses, expectations, we're going to go over all that. We're going to play at least one match of Pioneer Rakdos Vampires. I think it's a good deck to kind of get a good nuts and bolts feel. I think that one of the pitfalls in Magic playing is getting really good at like one kind of weird deck, which is a common thing. So like maybe you're a really good Tron player in Modern or a good Lotus Field player in Pioneer, where you learn a deck that's specific to a certain skill set but not really transferable because it's not ABC Magic. Whereas things like Limited or Standard especially are more kind of ABC nuts and bolts Magic, where if you're good at that, you're good at most things. You can figure the rest out. So that's what we're doing today. Cool. So Airball, first introduce yourself. Talk to us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been playing, and then of course you can, your content you do, and then we'll get into our questions and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I'm Airball. I am a Magic player. I've played for about 4 years now. I started during the pandemic. If you know me, the most likely thing you know me from is Decked Out, the Commander show, like Jim was talking about earlier. But that, in spite of that, I am a 60-card Magic player at heart, and I am trying to make the Pro Tour. I think that's the ultimate goal.
Sweet. So we have an Arena Zoomer we got, and that's
yeah,
kind of cool, honestly. I feel like I guess I don't know of a demographic of players who like started during the pandemic, because usually you think of Magic players playing in person or whatever, or playing at events or playing for a long time. But that's really cool. So you're playing on Arena. So what do you play, and what have you played? So what are your usual formats that you usually play, that you like to play, and what have you not played, kind of thing? What's your usual space?
usual space is Standard and Pioneer mostly. Whatever the RCQ season is what I will play. I don't play Limited at all. I don't like being surprised by cards when they're played against me. And so smaller card pools that don't rotate feel pretty good to me. I don't like playing Limited because every time a new set comes out, I need to relearn which gotcha cards are going to get me, and I can't reason out lines in the middle of a game because I don't know what my opponent could have in hand, and I'm not willing to put the time into learning it. So okay. I have... So Standard is a small enough card pool that I can know what's going on. Pioneer, the decks never change, it seems. But Modern, a huge card pool, I feel out of my depth. And Legacy, I haven't even touched.
Sure. Legacy is a psycho place right now. It was already a hard format. Now there's freaking dog planeswalkers, and I guess stickers are gone. But so usually it's mostly Standard, mostly Pioneer. I assume you're playing Standard in Arena and then Pioneer on Magic Online.
Yeah. During the Standard season, I played a little bit on Magic Online.
Okay.
Because there were enough people playing it then, but yeah, it's slow going over there now.
Okay, and it's interesting. I like that you pointed out your aversion to Limited. I like that you kind of laughed a little bit because I think you self-recognized it as a weakness, kind of like. But it's funny. That's good. I think self-recognition is an important thing. I do think Limited is an important thing, honestly, and I think that Limited is kind of like I was discussing, kind of like nuts and bolts Magic. Limited is that. Limited is the place where I think Magic players can most hone their internal instincts. If you're a good Limited player, for the most part, you're a good Magic player. And you kind of learn this feel and instinct where you're right. It's hard to know they have this exact trick because it could be one of a dozen cards, in their color combination or whatever. But you kind of get a feel and an instinct for like, okay, I think they have something here. you know, on my stream and my Bronze Mythic shows, I use the emergency meeting button where it's like, okay, I don't know what it is, but something's happening here. Kind of like in poker too, where like if you play poker at all, you know, you can never pick what their exact hand is, but you're trying to, okay, something's weird here. Let's try and figure out what it is, sort of thing. So I might suggest that for a future thing. I think it's a good thing to work on possibly, but obviously we're not doing that right now. So okay, so usually standard, usually Pioneer. I'm playing for 4 years. What have you played in? So you said you played in RCQs and stuff. How many RCQs have you played in? What are your results in these? You know, do you feel like you should do well? Do you make top 8? Do you feel like you're, you know, on the edge of winning one? Do you feel like you're just trying to make top 8? Where are you at?
I'll pretty consistently top 8 RCQs. I think that at the RCQ level, I'm probably like a top 10% player. I've played in 2 RCs. I played in Atlanta and Dallas, so Pioneer and Standard.
Okay.
And I did not day 2 those events. They didn't go particularly well. And that's, I think, the next breakthrough I want to make. I want to, as the next step, try to day 2 the RC that's coming up in DC.
Okay, so consistent RCQ top 8, and then you've won 2 of them also. Or 3 now, right? Because you're for DC too, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, and now you played in the 2 RCs. How did they go? I mean, like, did you bomb out early? Did you lose playing for day 2? How did they go results wise?
I did not do particularly well. In Atlanta, I brought Blue White Lotus, which was a meta call because I expected a ton of Amalia, and the matchup with Amalia is very good. But yeah, against the rest of the field, it wasn't great. The deck misfired, and I lost. So I think deck selection is a hard thing for me.
Okay.
And then in Dallas, I played Blue White Control, which I think was the best deck in the format, and I honestly did not draw particularly well. I drew round 1 and then, you know, flooded out the next couple matches, and that was enough to end the tournament for me.
How much Blue White Control have you played going into it?
Oh, Blue White's my favorite deck.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's one deck that is me, it's Blue White Control.
Okay, so I guess that's a good segue into what types of decks do you usually like?
Usually control decks. I like decks where I can sit back and react to what my opponent is doing in the best way possible. And I also like really proactive combo decks. So Lotus Field is my favorite deck in all of Magic to play. And I think I've gotten to the point where I'm reasonably good at that. It's the most popular content on my channel by a mile. Mid-range I can play, I think, reasonably well, but there's gaps in my game that I'm sure I don't even know about. And when it comes to aggro and board stall-y combat stuff, I think I am quite bad at that.
Okay. All right, so somewhat polarized then. You know, you want to be in a polar end of something. Either you're super control or super linear combo. You think you struggle in the sort of the middle areas. Okay, so deck selection maybe one of the RCs. Maybe the RC didn't go as well. Obviously, draw around 1's an issue. Do you feel like you were playing slowly, or do you feel like you've had practice playing quickly? Because I know I played Blue White at the RC also, and I think that playing a control deck in a long tournament is a skill in and of itself, as far as just like being able to manage the clock and make sure you're not drawing. It's a long event, and any draw is devastating. So how did you feel about that?
I very rarely draw when I'm playing control decks. I think I play at a good pace, but I think I was up against Blue White Control in round 1, so it was a mirror match. Neither of us play in that many win conditions. Both of us playing pretty tight, I would say. And we didn't even get to game 3. Like, I could have done better, but we didn't even get to game 3.
Okay. So, cool. So, played some RCs. So, I think that's a pretty good snapshot of, you know, winning RCQs, top 8 RCQs, moving to the next level, kind of out of the smaller pond into the bigger pond, larger pool, hasn't gone as well. Okay. We've already kind of touched on some of these. What do you think let's start with strengths. What do you think your strengths are as a Magic player? What do you think that you do, you know, maybe if there's a pool of players who are a similar skill level, similar plateau, winning RCQs, not doing well at the RC, in that pool, what do you think your strengths are over people who are at a similar level to you?
I think if I have a strength, it's format knowledge and being able to figure out what's in my opponent's hand, which is kind of a control player strength. Trying to figure out how to use your answers based on what you think is coming next out of them. And I think I'm pretty good at narrowing down what's in their hand based on the format and based on how they've played the game so far. I think that's probably my best strength. The other is probably pattern recognition. So if I watch experienced players pilot a deck, I can like repeat the tactics that they use, and I can see situations where they apply. But in terms of like my own creative thought and coming up with out of the box plays, I think that's harder.
Okay, cool. And then converse is weaknesses, and be honest. This is probably the hardest section for anyone to answer in one of these kind of, inventories of yourself, the Magic player. Weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, this how long you got? I've got.
We can probably do an hour or two.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, limited is a huge weakness for me. I don't play it at all. I know I will need to if the Pro Tour happens, but I feel like I have so many different things to focus on that I might as well focus on Constructed, because that's where most of the competitive stuff happens for now. Deck building is another thing I'm not great at, but that's because I can outsource it to the internet and focus on other things instead. Net decking is always going to be better than me building my own deck for the most part. And yeah, in terms of like actual Magic play, creature decks, board stalls, mid-rangey, finding the right line. Like mid-range decks often have two different lines that are close in my head, and I don't know how to figure out which one's the best to play.
Cool. So I'm actually very happy with our deck choice then to play the Vampire deck. Okay. Lastly, this is a dangerous one. What are your expectations? So you go to an RCQ, what's your expectation? You play in a Magic Online League, what's your expectation? You go to an RC, what's your expectation?
In an RCQ, if I don't top 8, I'm kind of annoyed. I feel like I should routinely top 8, unless, some act of God, I just draw terribly for some reason. If I don't top 8, I'm kind of irritated. In terms of a Magic Online League, anything less than 3-2 probably did not go super well, but content creator, sometimes you play decks that are not the best, so sometimes that happens. 4-1 is a good league, 5-0 is obviously great, and at an RC, my expectation is probably just like net neutral. Like I'm probably the 50th percentile RC player, I would think.
Okay, so realistic, which I think is a reasonable, honestly, a reasonable expectation. So okay, cool, sweet. So what I'm hearing is play limited, honestly. But what I'm hearing is you're very polarized. You are, and you're aware of it too. You're picking certain things and being good at them, but almost seem a little scared to kind of branch out and try different things, which will expand your horizons as a Magic player, which I think is very important. I think there's a bit of an element of safety where you're like, okay, I know my control decks, I know they work like this, I can just kind of like be in my little warm, happy place and kind of like live there and do that thing. Same with Lotus Field, same thing. I would say combo players are the number one like safe space players, where someone gets really, really good at Storm, or Lotus Field's a good example also of this really, really weird oddball deck that doesn't have a lot to do with, if there's fundamental Magic is here, they are here, where it's doing this weird thing that's very non-intuitive. It's difficult and it's very, very challenging, but when you're learning how to play a deck like that, you are learning to play Lotus Field. It's not a translatable skill. Whereas one of the benefits of playing limited and more like just kind of like generic creature mid-range decks is those are the most transferable skills. I think again, limited in general, you need to play creature combat. You need to decide who's the beatdown. When you sign up to play a control deck, you've already signed on the slip, I am the control deck. It's very, very rare you'll need to be the beatdown. So you're not needing to do role assessment, which is really, really important. Kind of combat stuff, kind of figuring out these tough spots, when to turn the corner a little bit, which can be challenging. I think in my own personal Magic career, I struggled with that too early on, where early in my career, I would only play aggro decks. Only play aggro decks. And then I moved on to playing control decks a little bit. But when I started to play the middle of the road decks, I struggled a bit. Like for fairies, for example, in like Lorwyn. Kind of like the quintessential kind of tempo, control, can be aggro, can be control kind of deck. I really struggled with when to change gears. When would I want to be on one side or the other? And I feel like I would 6-2 every PTQ. I would never top 8. I would do fine, but I was missing those edges that better players had at the time. So that's an important thing to work on, I think. So it all sounds like you're focusing a lot on cards and not plays. So when you mention limited, you're talking about the idea of, I don't know what card they're going to have, and I don't want to get punked, and then, in your control thing, you're talking about, I can figure out what cards they kind of have, but cards are not, they're what plays happen with and what overall macro strategy happens with. But it's a bigger picture than that. They are a small subset of a macro strategy of, who's the beatdown. That's a classic article. I'm sure you've read it, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Of the kind of idea of of role assessment in a game. And I think that modern day Magic, there are less polarized decks. Most decks are mid-rangey in some way, where there are some hard mono red decks or hard control decks, but a lot of the decks in modern day Magic kind of operate a little more in that middle space where you kind of need to figure out your role, and roles can shift based on how the cards line up. So I think that's an important thing to think about. This macro idea of bigger picture things rather than do they have this counterspell or do they have this one combat trick in this certain scenario. So what's up, Asif? Yeah, we got a raid too. Oh, we got a raid. Oh, shit. Welcome, everyone. How's it going? My name is Jam from Magic Player, full-time content creator. And it's Airball. We're doing a little coach session right here. Okay. So welcome. And Nassim is never the beatdown. That is true. All right. That is fair. But yeah, great. So we got that. And then the combat stuff also, again, I'm going to say it again, but limited. I think getting over your fear of limited will be a big factor. And I think you should force yourself to do it a little bit. We're not doing that today. Obviously, we're going to play some Pioneer. But I think that diving in, I think that one of the important things for plateau players who are kind of feel like they're hitting their plateau and not sure what else to do is getting out of your safe space, getting out of your safe zone, and doing things. Play an aggro deck, draft, try different things, experiment, and you learn a lot from the act of obviously just doing it and being more in a macro space of bigger picture kind of stuff. But also just even if you're not going to play an aggro deck, it's a really good exercise for a control player when they're playing against an aggro deck to know what are their inflection points, what are they capable of, where are they, what does the game look like from their point of view? Because you're sitting back with a Wandering Emperor and a counterspell, whatever. What are they thinking about? Are they going to jam? What are they, like one of the really common things playing against a control deck is knowing that you want to jam your spells on 4, where they could have, that's usually their card draw spell turn. So you want to on turn 3 when they can only have a counter spell, not a card draw spell, you play a weaker spell. Then on turn 4 you play a stronger thing, so they have their card draw spell. Just basically things like that, And when you're playing the aggro side, you get more of a feel of that too. So, has all that? Is that any questions on all that?
No, I don't like it, but yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
But the thing is that you're gonna have to ask yourself as a Magic player, if you want to improve, you need to weigh. That sounds uncomfortable. I don't like that, and it is a game. The part of playing Magic is having fun, enjoying what you're doing. Or do I want to get better? Do I want to take the next step up? I think that could you make day 2 at your current skill level if you had a good day? Probably. Do you think you would top 8 an RCQ on a good day? Question.
Top 8 an RCQ?
I'm sorry, RC. Yeah. RC. I apologize. At the RC, if you had at your current skill level, I think if you had a good day, things went smoothly for you, you drew well and you ran well, you probably could day 2. That's probably in your skill set range right now. Mm-hmm. Do you think if you had a good day at an RC, you could top 8?
No, I would have to have the best day.
Sure.
To top 8 at an RC, I think.
Which does happen occasionally. There are some kind of moneymaker or whatever. Oh, they won, cool. But sure. So I think you need to ask yourself seriously if that's an important thing to you, and you think that that's a goal you like to have. Am I willing to get out of my comfort zone? And if the answer is no, it's fine too. Honestly, it's not like it's you're a terrible person if you don't want to improve or whatever. But it's a question to ask yourself and anyone watching. Honestly, if you feel like you're at a plateau, if you feel like you're at a certain place, you want to get to a certain level, do you want to take the next step? If the answer is no, it's fine. Magic's a game. People love playing Magic. There's nothing wrong with just people who just want to draft once a week and just kind of enjoy Magic and play fun that way too. So important thing, you don't have to answer right now, obviously, or whatever. Type of thing to think about and kind of internalize and be aware of it. It is a process that requires a lot of work, and there is a reason that the players who make it to the top are making it there, because usually they're putting in a much extra level of work and doing things like this also, which I think is a good first step. I think that the recognition of I am plateauing, I would like to improve, I'll like to take a next step, is the first step towards moving on to that thing. Cool. So, any more questions or things we get started with a little bit of gameplay?
Not for me, no.
All right, cool. So let's get into it. All right, so we are playing Rakdos Vampires today. The deck list is honestly not important. This is just some lists that want to challenge. My focus today is on gameplay, not on deck building. I think it's a very important thing too. I think that I got a little bit from your interview process or whatever that you want to metagame a little bit and think about deck building in that regard a bit. I think that strong gameplay is more important than deck selection, especially at about your level. I think if you're in a spot where winning RCQs, struggling at the RC. I think that level's where the biggest jump in your game would be gameplay. So deck list is whatever. I don't care. It's vampires. We all know what it does. We're going to get right to a match and go from there. All right, so we're coming in with our first game here, our first match. We are on the draw in the dark. I don't know what our opponent's playing. We got 4 lands, Blot Out, Fatal Push, Dusk Legion, Zealot. And the process here is going to be, I'm driving, my hands are on the wheel. But I'm going to be asking Airball basically at every point, what should we do and why? That's the most important part, is why. So you need to have a reason for everything you do. I don't care if it's a bad reason. I'd rather you say we should do this because of this and be horribly wrong than say I want to do this but I don't know why. So talk to me.
Well, we have lands and spells. Pretty mopey spells though, and we see our opponent has no companion, so they're probably not on anything hyper aggressive, and they're not on Niv. Most likely thing they're on is Amalia or Phoenix. Against Amalia, the hand is okay. You have a Fatal Push. Against Phoenix, the hand is pretty awful. And I think you're leaning real heavy on this Dusk Legion Zealot to sort of fix things. We do have 2 card draw, like we have 2 draw steps because we're on the draw, but I think I would send this one back. I think we're rewarded if we find Sorin, Vein Ripper, and I think the average 6 will be better.
I agree. Honestly, I think that I think his hand, I think on the draw even makes it a little worse. I think on the play, if we're playing a Zealot on turn 2 before they do much, that kind of like takes a little bit of a sting at playing 2 mana for a 1/1. But either way, the hand is not great. And I think you also chimed in on the important part here is that depending on your deck, some decks mulligan well, some decks mulligans don't. When you have a combo like Sorin Ripper in your deck, every time you mulligan, it's just another chance to spin that wheel, and maybe you hit a Ripper Sorin draw, which I think is a nice thing to high roll too. So I'm pretty happy to mulligan here too, I agree. Opponent kept 7, by the way. So we're going to mulligan 6, and now we see 4 lands and 3 spells again, but a little better. What do you think?
Yeah, this has Fable. You keep hands with Fable. Sorin is half the combo already. Fatal Push is good early interaction. We're very likely to be able to cast Fable without being on our back foot. I would keep this, and I think I would ship the Sulphurous Springs.
I agree. So, ship that down, and let's see what they are up to. All right, Spiral Bluff Canal. Perfect. So, Phoenix, obviously one of the most played decks in the format. And a good test here. A little tough for our hand, I think, but let's ride it out. Should be a good, interesting, interactive matchup, too, which is important. So, they play a Sleight of Hand, they played a Spire Bluff Canal, and we haven't gained too much information, really. No scries or anything like that. So, we're going to untap, and we're going to draw a Bitter Triumph.
All right, Blackleaf Cliffs go.
Cool. Pretty simple, nothing crazy here. Spire Bluff Canal number 2, and they say go. So, thoughts on that?
Very likely Free the Fae.
Right.
Free the Fae coming. Nothing else makes sense.
Great. So
they kept 7, yeah.
Not much you can do about that, obviously. So we're going to untap, and we're going to draw a Vein Ripper. Must be nice. So slide that one over there next to Sorin. And what are we doing on our side?
Yeah, obviously we're just playing a land and saying go. The question is which one.
Mm-hmm.
I have been burned in the past by not playing the Mutavault early. And I don't think we're really punished for having colorless mana on turn 3. So I think I'm playing the Mutavault here.
Okay. I think getting Mutavault in play, as long as like I mentioned, mana is important. Having an attacker if things go weird or whatever. And like I think being oddly aggressive with Mutavault and a nice. It's one of those things where like it's the kind of thing that like really good players do, where like they'll just find that random 2 damage on turn 2. Like if you're playing a mirror per se and you're on the play. And you go turn on Mutavault, and they thought it's easy. You just get a two free points of damage because you have a 2-drop. Like things like that are important little edges to find. So that's how we see an opt. So cool. So no Free the Fae. So obviously we couldn't have known either way. Also, we see no other use of the mana here. So at this point now, we can extrapolate a decent number of things about their hand. Tell me about their hand.
Well, we can be sure, unless they found it off the opt, that there's no Free the Fae. They're playing Sleight of Hand here, so they could be trying to reanimate a Phoenix, but there's no good way to get it in the bin. There's no Ledger Shredder. They might not have played that on 2 because we were telegraphing Fatal Push, but they would probably play it here in Sleight of Hand immediately to get value off of it. Yeah, I think their hand is kind of mopey, probably a mystery box kind of thing, maybe a Treasure Cruise, probably a Treasure Cruise if we're realistic, and kind of like one of those mid-rangey to control-y Phoenix hands.
Yeah, I would say multiple cruises is honestly possible. So one of the really important things about playing at a higher level is obviously hand deduction. And what I kind of said a lot in my old coaching sessions was you basically want to have a mental image of their deck list, right? And as they do things or don't do things, you can immediately cross things off, right? So that turn they cast an opt, and they had a spiral cannot open and didn't cast it. So there's no consider, there's no opt. We know that. There's no free the Fae. They would have cast that also, right? If they had a Shredder, they'd cast it here. Probably. Maybe we have removal up, maybe, and maybe not. But, so we're kind of just crossing off cards they can have and not have will kind of make sense. So I think them having kind of a removal heavy hand or a cruise heavy hand is reasonable. And just, is that important for this second right here, right now? No. But your job as Magic player is to constantly file that information away and just keep updating that file as the game goes on. So here's a sleight of hand. They have 5 cards in hand before it resolves, so we're going to have 6 total. And they're just going to say go.
They made a snap decision there, yeah.
So pretty fast sleight of hand, and then they say go quickly. So they might have found Free the Fae. If they have not found Free the Fae, we're going to find out in the end step, obviously. We're looking at potentially interactive spells. So obviously we have no end step play here. We're going to tap, and we're going to draw. Hold on. Upkeep. Upkeep. We paused for a while too, I guess. But that's how we're doing some Magic Online, because we have the ability to kind of pause and talk for a minute or two, whereas on Arena, the rope will get you. So Magic Online, obviously it's not
20 minutes on turn 3.
What's up?
We're sub 20 minutes on turn 3. We don't get to complain.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. Exactly. And that's one of the upsides and downsides of Magic Online. It's bad for content because you just kind of end up in these spots where you're like, all right, it's been 5 minutes and things happen or whatever. But you can pause and think and talk about things. So we draw a Zealot, and now it's time to figure out what to do on this turn. This is our first actual interesting turn. Go nuts.
So Spell Pierce is something that makes sense as possibly being in their hand. I think there's only 2 reasonable choices here. It's either play Fable or Jam Sora and try to get Ripper into play. I think between the 2 of them, because I'm a little concerned about Spell Pierce, I'll play Fable, and either they Spell Pierce it, or next turn we go to 5 mana attacking with the Goblin, and then we can play Sora and pay for Spell Pierce. So I think I would play Swamp Fable here.
I agree with most of that, although I think it's extremely ambitious to think that we'll actually get a treasure off the Fable. Because we sort of already deduced that their hand is mostly interactive. So if they don't have a Spell Pierce, there's no chance they don't have an Axe or an Impulse, I think, for sure.
True.
Also important to note that if we play a creature, it is open a possibility they get Axe and discard Phoenix and have Phoenix's next turn. Other option you didn't discuss is just playing the Zealot, which is sort of like a way to say, hey, I'm just going to chill. If you're just going to chill, I'm just going to chill kind of thing. But I don't think we get enough positive off that. I think that getting a Spell Pierce out of their hand instead of for a Sword Ripper next turn is a better plan too. So I think I agree. I'm fine playing Fable here. I think it's very unlikely to succeed, whether it is either Spell Pierce, which I think is likely, or just being killed. But I think with Sword Ripper already in our hand, this is fine. And then this should also be a flag for our opponent too, where us casting Fable into a pretty obvious Pierce here means that they should be a little more scared of Sword Ripper as well. So they pierce it as predicted.
Also playing a good threat, I didn't say it, but playing a good threat does take them off of Free the Fae.
That is true also, which I like. They didn't have it the previous turn, but again, them passing with 2 mana up and a pretty fast sleight of hand is a reasonable course of action there. So they play Otawara, so they have 5 cards in hand. They say go again.
Yeah, you only play Otawara if you have no other lands in hand, so we're pretty confident they have 5 spells.
I would agree with that. So
we have no lands.
Now what?
We have no lands. Most Phoenix lists, I think, are running only 2 Spell Pierce in the main deck and 1 in the sideboard. So if we jam Sorin here, it's pretty likely to succeed. If they do Spell Pierce, that's really bad, so we could consider playing Dust Legion Zealot instead to try to hit our land drop. I think here, getting Vein Ripper in play is such a huge game that I would jam Sorin.
So I kind of disagree a little bit. I think that getting Vein Ripper in play it's fine here. I guess they don't have a creature in play, obviously. It's like they would need to pull that as well. But I think Lightning Axe is also a likely kind of possible card. And putting a thing in play, we can get them a little more set up for a Phoenix possibility, but they have a creature in play also. I think we're going to Sorin here. Yeah, I think that I agree with your assessment that second Pierce is unlikely. If they have it, whatever. The problem is that when you're trying to decide what you're trying to hedge and what can I do a different thing this turn? The answer is play a Zealot. It's not not that
Exactly.
exciting. You know, if it was a Blood Tithe Harvester, if it was some sort of other thing, they could at least attack or do things, or a Preacher, cool. But I think I agree. I think we're in on Sorin here, and then we'll see how it works out. I mean, they could also like cast some spells, untap, hard cast the Phoenix, and then Lightning Axe and do that too. I guess I couldn't return them then, but they just kind of thinking through, you know, what could their turn possibly look like is a very important thing to do. So consider the Fake Out Spell Pierce. Important to note also they didn't main phase this Consider, which they could have. There's no need to instant speed all of your cantrips if you're looking for certain things, but
They've been to Lightning Axe off the Consider as well.
that is also interesting too. Yes, so I think that for sure they have an axe in their hand. I wouldn't be surprised right now if their hand they have 5 cards. They have at least one axe, at least one Phoenix, at least one Cruise, probably an Impulse. Then I guess they were cantrips either. So, all right, so we're gonna minus. Is there any merit to not minusing?
The merit to not minusing is you play around their nut hand of Lightning Axe, Phoenix, Cantrip. If you don't put anything into play, the Lightning Axes, if they're their only spells, they might not be able to reanimate Phoenix. If they only put one Phoenix into play, Sorin won't die. And you'll still be... Well, you won't be able to minus him next turn, and then what's the point? So I think minusing is right, and if they can deal with Ripper, they deal with Ripper, and we go from there.
I agree, but I think that thinking through that process is very, very important. I think this game, we've kind of just like done the kind of obvious thing, I think, in a lot of these turns, but I think we've been kind of close to not doing the obvious thing, but just hasn't been as enticing enough. But very important to think about, because you were kind of saying that like you feel like you struggle to kind of find those like more interesting lines and more you know, non-standard things or whatever. That's an important thing to think about. So, Byron Ripper, and here we are. So we got Sword, we got Ripper. We're saying, okay, here's the problem, you solve it. And instead, they are going to torch the tower of the Sword. Okay. So
that's an unusual main deck Phoenix card.
Yeah, that fits our bill of you know, their hand being Fiery Impulse type cards. You know, some of us play 3 Impulse and 1 Torch Tower. Sure. All right. And there's your Cruise. Okay, cool. So so far nothing has kind of happened, you know, out of the ordinary here. This is kind of what you're expecting. Removal spell, Cruise. They still have Bigger Bird to answer. So here's Shredder. Okay. And now they could in theory axe, sacrificing the Shredder. That would be only 2 spells. Discard a Phoenix. So we're getting a pretty good exchange here. You know, it's a 4-life swing. It's a lot of cards, but they also cruised, which is kind of bad too. So let's do this and this. And then if they go land spell, they're good to go for Phoenixes, right?
Yes.
And they do not. Okay. So again, go break our checklist out, right? They have no op, they have no consider, they have no sleight of hand, they have no proactive card they can spend. So they have 3 cards in hand, and you know, not cantrips. So untap. And now we're a little unhappy too, right? So you have all these removal spells, which are honestly, it's funny. Post board, you love their removal spells. Actually, we don't have play ones, do we? We have what kind of great rate do we have? We have 2 Cage, 2 Hearse. Sure, okay. But obviously in these game 1 scenarios, not very exciting. So draw pathway. What's up?
I think I'm playing Zealot first, tapping Swamp and Cliffs. If we draw Blood Tithe Harvester, then that sucks. But if we don't, and we don't have a better play, we could play Blightstep Pathway and attack with Mutavault, but then we're not holding up removal for a Phoenix. Is removal on a Phoenix that good, though? Because they probably will have the means to bring it back. I guess, yeah, I'm not really sure. This is one of those tough spots where, like, attacking with Mutavault is, like, maybe a reasonable play, but it also feels kind of crappy to me, and the downside of hitting a Blood Tithe Harvester and not being able to play it really stinks. So, okay. Then I think my line is just Swamp, Mutavault, play Zealot. Go from there.
You want to tap the Swamp and the Mutavault?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the Mutavault damage is very relevant. You know, I think that, you know, right now we're at 24, they're at 16. I think this is a kind of a macro big picture thing, right? This is sort of a, okay, who's the beatdown? Who's the inevitability here? In game 1s, Phoenix has inevitability. Eventually, they're going to draw more cruises, keep recurring their Phoenixes and stuff. The impetus is on us to kill them. We are the beatdown, you know, and a free 2 damage in a matchup where you have cards like Ripper and like these other kind of like damagey effects will add up. And I think that, you know, playing Zealot is fine. We can play Zealot first. We might want to go Zealot first. I guess we have no 1-mana red cards in our decks. We can just tap these 2. And Zealot. See what we draw. If we draw Thoughtseize, that'd be kind of cool. We could probably take a cruise, something like that. But otherwise, just fire in the Meat Vault and attacking. Cool?
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right, so fire and Zealot. We also know they don't have a 1-mana cantrip in their hand, too. So Phoenixes might or might not...
Waka waka.
It's honestly fine, though. You know, obviously that was a 4 in 48 cards or whatever, is what it is. So we'll play the Pathway on... We could play it on red. We have a Crocs in our deck also.
We do, but I think being able to cast a removal spell on... Well, we're going to attack Mutavault anyway.
Yeah.
I think I'd buy playing it on red.
Yeah, we have multiple black cards. Ripper across 3, but almost all of our lines set for black anyway. Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly. I haven't played this exact list, so I'm not exactly sure, but whatever. So, buy our Mutavault, get some damage in. You know, and chip shot damage is the name of the game here, too. And that's a lot of what these sort of mid-range decks are, you know, important about. And these are the kind of things you learn more when you're playing a mid-range deck, a limited deck or whatever, where you're just looking for spots to get in. You know, I would say that, you know, one of the things, you know, when you play someone really, really good, and they do things that seem weird to you, and it's kind of like a learning moment. I guess I remember playing against Owen Turtenwald, and I remember it was a Pro Tour or something. Me and always play it like the X5 bracket every Pro Tour. I feel like on day 2, and he was just attacking so much. I remember being like, "You're really attacking me right now? Like it's just like a psycho attack." And like I remember making note of that multiple times, just being like, "Wow, really? Are you really?" And like he's obviously at the time one of the best players in the world, you know, and like those sorts of like just finding your damage, finding your spots, just getting your little edges everywhere you possibly can is huge. So we see a Memory, we see a Shredder, and we see nothing else. We see a Canal still up, 3 cards in hand, got a counter from the Memory, and we untap, and we're going to draw, and we're going to think about our turn. Ew. Okay, where are we at?
Okay, well, it's very likely, based on how the game has gone, that there's a Treasure Cruise in hand. Treasure Cruise, Profts, and Ledger Shredder is a recipe for one hell of a turn. So I think the Shredder needs to die, even though Shieldred would be pretty nice to have in play. We can play Blood Tithe Harvester and Fatal Push, or we can just Fatal Push and hold up Bitter Triumph. I think if the Shredder's going to die, it should die on our turn, and it should die as the first thing we do. Both to play around Pierce and to avoid giving them the trigger. So I think the line here is kill Shredder with Push, then cast Harvester, and then hold up the Blood activation to pitch one of the Bitter Triumphs if we need to.
I think I agree. I think playing Shield at this point, they've already discarded an axe to... They discarded an axe earlier, and then also cast. There's only 2 axes left, but you really want to clear the path for Shoulder if you can. This is kind of like a Dust Settles kind of card. It's funny, you mentioned holding up removal a number of times, which seems like a very control playery kind of thing. I don't think it's a very relevant thing in this matchup. You know, like, what are we holding up removal for? Like, nothing we don't want to kill a Phoenix. I guess killing a Shredder before it could do stuff is kind of cool, but I agree with your line here. I agree with killing this, attacking for 1, and then playing Harvester, and just trying to chip as much damage as we can. I would not be surprised if the Harvester eats it to a Fire Impulse in the end step, which is fine. Also, playing Shoulder when they have 3 cards in their hand, they could have multiple Impulses too. So, we really want to play Shouldered when the coast is completely clear. So, here's a Harvester. And then I also think there's some validity to just blooding right now. And possibly making a land drop, whether it's tap land, Meat Vault, whatever else it might be. I think it's pretty unlikely we would ever need both of these. You know, we've already killed 2 Shredders, and they have, 2 more Shredders, 4 Phoenixes, and maybe some Picklock Pranksters. That's really it. So,
yeah.
I'm
the only argument against that I can think of is that it gains 2 life with Shieldred if we wait and get Shieldred in play. But I agree with you. I think we should crack the blood.
Yeah, I think I'd rather make a land drop. So just pop this now. Let's pop this now. And Thoughtseize. Cool.
Yeah.
Touch Trigger Revolt, I suppose. I guess this chat reminds us, but I think it's not going to be that relevant. So again, the thing is that, like, again, macro big picture wise, you really don't want to be killing an Arclight Phoenix with a removal spell. That is a very poor exchange. You should be trying to do everything in your power to not do that. You know, and because you can't kill their Phoenixes, that kind of puts you in a racing scenario, which kind of informs your decision of what's your macro plan in the matchup. I have to kill them. Chip shot damage. You know, get them low, so when I cast Ripper or Shieldred, they'll get squeezed out and die before they can draw more cruises or bring back more Phoenixes. So, What do we got here? A lot of mana tapping. Just going to be a big, ugly cruise. So 4 mana cruise, a concentrate. And again, this is another loud telling that their hand is very poor. Important to note, they didn't end step impulse the Harvester. So we're trying to piece together what could be in their hand. I mean, whenever I play Phoenix, it's always Galvanic Iteration and the Time Walk. Both cards that I absolutely hate for this exact reason. Those are the cards that can kind of clunk your hand up. I think an Axe is still possible because they wouldn't want to Axe a Harvester. So they play a Hall, mana up, 5 cards, say go. Alright, so we're going to draw a card per turn. We're going to draw a Vein Ripper. And where are we at?
So we're in that uncomfortable spot again where we can either play out the big dumb idiot or make the preparation play that doesn't feel very good. We can Thoughtseize them here. We're not really doing anything else. I think Lightning Axe is kind of unlikely. And with Profs in play, like, they're going to want to draw a bunch of cards, and Shieldred punishes them for that. So I think it's swing out for 4, then jam Shieldred.
I think I disagree. I think I disagree that Lightning Axe is not likely. I think actually Lightning Axe is fairly likely. It's just hard to think of many other dead cards they could have in their hand that have kind of been rotting for a while. And I think it's an absolute... It's a game-losing disaster if we cast Shieldred this turn, and they're able to answer it for 1 mana, untap, go nuts, return to Phoenix, at memory, and everything else. And before, in some of our earlier plays, we didn't really have good reasons to not do that. This turn we do. So I think a Mutavault attack is awesome this turn. We're about to get half their life total.
Okay.
And also Thoughtseize checks for it too, which is great too. So I want to Thoughtseize first and then fire up Mutavault and get in. And again, this is sort of like that chip shot damage game. And making sure we're not getting blown out and kind of just doing our plan. So fire up Thoughtseize. This will also illuminate all of our future choices as well, which is very important. And there you go. All right, awesome. God. Burn! So like one of the things with coaching is that you get scared when you make a read, or you're like, "Hi, dear, do it like this," and you screw up and you're like, well, actually do it like that. So there we go. Awesome. So they have Axe, they have Cruise. Now we need to decide how we want to proceed here. Now we get to take the Cruise. If they want to Axe away and kill my creatures, go ahead. These creatures suck anyway. But now I have a bit of a choice of like, is the Mutavault even going to get in here? That I'm not sure about yet. But I think we're taking the Cruise here pretty obviously, leaving them with 2 Axes, 2 lands, and a Hall of Storm Giants. And again, we're just chipping away. You know, a lot of like, you know, good, clean, like high level Magic is just chipping away. It's not, boom, here's my thing, boom, here's my thing, which is, you know, what Magic's been accused of in recent years or whatever, but this is just good, clean, fundamental Magic. Cool. So take the Cruise, pop their hand up. Our clock is getting a little low, unfortunately, but whatever. Every time I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter at all. It just matters, you know, it's just more important to do some stuff. So now the question is, do we fire the Mutavault or not?
I think we don't.
Why?
I think I'm happy just, well, because if we fire up the Mutavault and they kill it, we're down to 3 lands. We don't have Shieldred as a later play. It's unlikely they're gonna, well, I just don't want to lose the land, I guess. I don't think we have the Vein Ripper. I want to work my way towards that.
Do you think they'll Axe the land over the Harvester?
I think I would in their spot.
We also get more damage if we do that. So if we attack with just these 2, they're going to Axe if they take 1. I think we're fire the Mutavault. I think that this is an element of... I think your reasoning is reasonable, of like, losing a land here does kind of suck. But the flip side is not doing enough damage. And there's no guarantee they even killed Mutavault. And even if they do, we're getting for 4. They're going to 9. You have a Shieldred. Drawing a spell is great next turn. All right, so they kill, that's fine. Drawing a spell is great. You know, drawing a land would be fine also now at this point too. So they dump the Pathway. They dump an Axe. So now we're down to Coast, Axe. They do have an active Hall, which is a little annoying, but the Coast is somewhat clear. And also, like, they have an Axe in their hand. We're not, like, stoked to play Shoulder next turn anyway, you know? So, here's the Coast. What's the ward on this? 3?
3.
I guess that's actually a bit of an argument towards keeping the land, is that now you can't... It's pretty hard to kill this, but sure. We draw a Sword.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, so now what?
Attack, Sorin, Vein Ripper.
Why attack first? They have a Hall. We know they have an Axe and an unknown card. Do you want them to tap their Hall and like you want them to tap out before we do this, or?
That was the idea, but I guess, yeah. I guess if they're gonna kill something, then we want it to happen with Vein Ripper in play. Okay, yeah. Let's just jam the Ripper first.
Yeah, I think I'm not even sure if we're gonna attack, honestly. Like, I don't know if giving away a creature, because like right now it's just sort of like the control thing, right? Where like they have a deluge, or they have a card draw spell in their hand, or I'm sorry, they have a counter spell in their hand, and you don't want them to use it and just spend their mana when they were wasting mana otherwise. So like, they're just gonna waste mana here, and we just don't attack next turn. They don't have any rats in their deck, you know. So let's minus here. So minus, see what happens. Put in the Ripper, and then move to combat. And I think we just don't attack. I don't think trading a Harvester for nothing and 2 damage is worth it. When like, if they want to cast other spells next turn, they can't haul and do that. You understand what I'm saying? Where like they have a free haul right now. They won't have it next turn if they want to do anything else. Does that make sense?
Yep. And it's just Vein Ripper's a lethal threat with Sorin in play anyway.
Right. So like we're there, and like so they have to answer this Ripper. In which case they'll tap their lands. In which case then we can safely attack next turn anyway. And now also they got to deal with the Sorin too. We're like even if they just like play the best possible card of the universe and just kill Ripper for free with nothing or whatever, you know, land blot out or whatever. Like we still have a Sorin and these 2 guys too. So all right, so play a Shredder. They have 2 cards in hand. They are not going to use the Axe now, which is interesting. And we're going to upkeep and we're going to draw. So sure, that's pretty good. What's up?
I'm going straight to combat here. Just swing. See, force their hand. Whatever they do, we can Fatal Push and Bitter Triumph in response. That's 4 damage. It's going to be hard for them to kill the Vein Ripper and the 2 other things, or block them. So, I think if we swing out here and react to whatever they do, then we probably have lethal.
So I think we're trying to figure out what their likely play here is, right? So I would say with them playing Shredder and saying go, their plan is to block something and then axe this, sacrificing the Shredder, getting the value of a block too. So if their play is already telegraphed, we can use our push like a lava spike, basically. Because we cast the push, that'll induce them to axe in response and kill the Ripper. They take 4, we attack, we finish them up with the Sword. So I think
How about plussing Sorin onto Ripper and then Lightning Axe doesn't kill it? That kind of forces the Axe too.
So that would force it. That means we can't minus it afterwards for a Helix. And it kind of like negates the cards in our hands a little bit. Where we do that, they axe in response. Now we just have this push kind of rotting in our hand. 2 cards.
Well, that would kill them, right? Like in response to the war trigger, we kill the Shredder. They can't sack it to pay.
Oh, you're right. I forgot that interaction. You're correct. So yeah, I like that. That's good. Let's do that. I forgot about the ward being a trigger. And you can kill it response. Good catch. So plus here, force the action. And they're gonna fire up an axe. They discard a thing.
No, don't yield.
Yep, I got it.
Okay.
I got you. Good try, character catch me though, because who knows what the hell I'll do. I'm crazy over here. I hit buttons all the time. So cool. So push, and now the game is over. So sick. So we're gonna have 4 minutes for game 2, which is honestly fine. I would tell my coaching students all the time, we're gonna time out. I don't care. You know, we can just concede this game and start another game. Honestly, you know, honestly, there might even be value to that to play a different matchup too. But cool. I think that was a pretty good game as far as things worked out. As far gives some good examples, some good interesting things too. So should we? Let's just sideboard and play game 2. I guess. And if we time out, we time out. Whatever. I think it's fine.
Okay.
And then we'll plan to play a second match. So cool. So sideboarding. Talk to me.
Yeah. We have obviously we have the 2 Grafdigger's Cages and the Unlicensed Hearses. Those are coming in for sure. In terms of other possibilities, you could maybe talk me into bringing Blot out. Actually, I also want to bring in Damping Sphere against them as well. I think I'm convinced that is a good card in the matchup. In terms of what to bring out, I think Reacher's kind of mopey. Dies to a lot of their removal. Croxa, I'm not super interested in because it's a free discard outlet for them if they want to do that. What else? Bitter Triumph does not seem like a great card, but they're probably going to bring in Crackling Drakes, so it's a little better post board. I don't know what else to take out. Shielder's obviously great. Vein Ripper's obviously great. Fable's great. Fatal Push. So maybe some number of hand disruption spells can come out. Maybe the 2 Duress, and we can keep the Thoughtseizes. Yeah. So maybe it's, what do you think? Maybe it's these 4 and bring in the Graveyard Hate, and that's it.
Okay, so one of the really important things post-board against Phoenix, obviously this list is like a little different than the list I used to play at the Pro Tour with the 4 ley lines, which changed things a lot. But post-board against Phoenix, things get much more creaturey, where now we have better answers to the Phoenixes and Graveyard Hate and things that exile, and they bring in cards like Crackling Drake, Young Pyromancer, maybe even a Fable or 2, things get much more creaturey. Therefore, the creature removal skills get a lot better. I will say I don't like Duress, which is kind of a non-intuitive thing against them, because most of the time, unless you're hitting exactly Treasure Cruise, you're just taking a cantrip from some whatever card, and then you don't need to take their axes. You can kind of just like play around like we did in that game. I don't like Cage. I think Cage only stops Phoenix, and we have other ways to do that, and it's just too narrow in that regard. Hearse is obviously great. I know we have some damning sphere stuff happening. I think, but I'm sorry, we're out of time here. So, yeah, Hearse Act. I'm not sure about damning sphere. We never considered bringing it in back in the day when we played the Pro Tour. It wasn't our board. I don't think I like it for doing enough, because we're kind of like taxing the resources in other ways. And again, we're taxing Phoenix in other ways too. I kind of like the Preacher. Usually Zealots come out actually. Yeah, I'm gonna leave Preacher in. I'm sorry. Now we're
okay. Yeah, I buy that.
I'm gonna do this. I think we used to cut all of our Zealots, maybe. I don't remember exactly. Obviously, our PT was just different, and I haven't played in the PT in 6 months or whatever. So, all right, sure. So here we are. So we got an opener. What do you think?
On the draw, we have Thoughtseize to disrupt one of their plays. We have Fable. We have nothing else going on. Maybe we can Mutavault attack on 2. I think I'm keeping this.
Yeah, I agree. I don't love it, but 2 creature lands is fine. The Thoughtseize is fine, and the Fable's obviously really, really good. You gotta have a little faith in your deck, I think, and then hopefully with Fable, we'll be able to kind of filter through and that. So we see Shock go, so probably an option to consider. We untap and draw a Fatal Push, which is pretty good actually. So what's up?
I would jam Cliffs here, and I think Thoughtseize.
Why?
I would like to hold it. Because I want to be able to attack with Mutavault on turn 2. Oh, as opposed to the Hive.
Right.
Yeah, I guess Hive makes sense. Makes more sense.
Yeah, it's just like, I think I agree. If we want to play Mutavault on 2, and then we want to have Cliffs on 3, for some reason we decide to not, Fable attack or whatever. So we see Opt, Consider, Pierce, Drake, Axe.
I think Drake's the most threatening card in the matchup. Spell Pierce sucks because we can't play Fable, but we can play around it.
I agree. I think that Crocodile Drake is by far the best card. So it's the reason why you need to have these removal spells. You'll just die to it, obviously. So this is fine. Their hand is certainly not made, and we can just chill. They have plenty of cantrips, though. This is why I don't love the discard spells. Tagging like a Drake or a Cruise is awesome, but like, if that Drake wasn't in their hand, what are we taking? And what are we happy about taking? So we see a Spiral Canal, which was not in their hand previously, so we know the 5 cards in their hand exactly. We untap here, and we draw another Thoughtseize.
Okay, so they have 1 unknown.
No, we know all cards.
No, they have no.
Oh, I'm sorry,
they have no unknowns.
I apologize. One unknown because they can't consider.
Thoughtseize, we can take the Spell Pierce at minimum and clear the way for Fable. They have no creatures, so holding up Fatal Push doesn't seem super valuable. I think it's Cliffs, Thoughtseize, go. Like Cliffs, Thoughtseize, take Spell Pierce, go.
I agree with. I think we just Thoughtseize first. There's to play a land first. So we'll Thoughtseize first, see what happens. And I think we're probably playing the Mutavault, not the Cliffs. I think there's very little upside. I don't think that like the only way push would be good is if they have exactly Shredder into spell, which could happen, I guess. But I think having the option to Mutavault attack is better in that regard. So that's gone. Play Mutavault and just say go. And then we can decide what we want to do next turn as far as playing Fable or answering a thing as well. Like, if they play a Shredder, they go Shredder Op next turn, I'd rather go push the Shredder, attack Mutavault for 2, then play Fable maybe. And this gives us the option to do that too. So here's Odawara. There's Shredder, cool. But they've already cast the Opt. So right now they have Lightning Axe and 2 unknowns, which is assumedly are not 1-mana cantrips. So we draw a Swamp.
Yeah, my Spidey sense is tingling. I think there's a Spell Pierce over there. They're holding it up for turn 3 Sorin, possibly. Otherwise, you jam a cantrip for the Ledger Shredder. I think I want to play the Cliffs. I want to Fatal Push the Shredder, and then I don't know about attacking with the Mutavault.
I'm firing in here. Yeah, so I agree with. I think that I think the Spell Pierce assessment is not. I don't have any strong reason for the Spell Pierce here, but I think that like this, we need to kill Shredder. Shredder's one of the better engines. We're probably gonna rush either, and I don't care if they axe my freaking Mutavault. I'm stoked about it. So if they've drawn a Fiery Impulse in the interim, whatever. We have 4 lands in our hand or whatever. It's fine. So and we're still casting Fable next turn anyway. So it's not really stopping our plans. And then chip shot damage is great. So cool. Very happy with that. Here's a Memory. Hasn't looked too good in these games so far. It's kind of a cutesy card. It can be really good, but and a pathway. And following up with a cruise. All right. So got a lot of cards. They have an axe and 4 other unknown cards. We're going to untap. And I think we're pretty clearly playing Fable here. Agree?
Yep, no doubt.
Yep. So play Fable. And we're definitely going to time out, but whatever it is. So play that and go. This is great for us, right? So now we've got... Go on now. We've got 2 lands to discard, a threat, a Mutavault, 2 creature lands. They have a lot going on too, in theory, but overall I think we're in pretty decent shape here. Haven't given them a good axe target yet. And we're going to see a Kicked Fires of Victory.
I think that card is pretty bad.
I agree. I'm not a big fan of that card. So we're going to draw. And draw Fatal Push. Discards here.
Yeah, I think both swamps.
Agreed. Jar Ripper. We got Blot Out. All right, so a pretty cool spot for a Harvester. And then we get to fire on Mutavault also, which is great. Mutavault's done 4 damage already, which is 1/5 of their life total, which is excellent. And send it in.
Yeah, I'm definitely attacking with these less often than I should.
Yeah, Mutavault's, like, awesome. Like, I used to play Blue-White Control in Standard with 4 Mutavaults. I played Mutavault on turn 1, attack for 2 on turn 2 so often. Like, not so often, but, like, against these, like, Underworld Connection Thoughtseize decks, like, just get your shots in, you know, like, might matter, might not, but just, you know, picking up these little pieces here and there are nice. So, here's a sleight of hand. Again, we're likely to time out this game, but whatever. You know, it is what it is. So, Mutavault is a large part of why this deck is good. I agree with that statement a lot. I think Mutavault fills a lot of the holes in this deck. It's an extra vampire for Sorin. A little chip shot damage is really, really good in these mid-range Thoughtseize decks. It's cool. So, we see Slight. We see Opt. Opt goes bottom. We see a Spiral Bluff Canal. If they say go here, wow. 5 cards, 1's an axe. And no other cantrips. No... They could have a cruise, I guess, but... They ain't doing much. We untap and draw a Dusk Legion Zealot. People flips. Where are we at?
They're at 14. We have, like... They're going to have to kill the Reflection, I think. Otherwise, we just threaten to copy Harvester with it next turn, and that's real bad for them. Probably... How about Zealot, Animate Mutavault, swing out?
It's interesting. I think we're gonna do that. I'm not sure if Mutavault's coming in or not, honestly. We do have, you know, a little more desire to have lands, and I think that multiple kill spells. Oh, that kind of changes the equation, actually. All right, now we're firing him.
Yeah.
Mutavault it is. Yeah. So now we've locked up Sorin and Ripper next turn. So I don't care if they kill us anyway. Getting it for 5 is great. And now you're right. A lot of what these mid-range decks are all about is just presenting a bunch of different threats, and they just kind of like snowball so you can't deal with them all. You know, we have a Fable, and some beatdown creatures, and a creature land, and a Sorin, and a this, and a that, and then you kind of just like, you know, the biggest thing about mid-range decks is just getting on the board and constantly kind of getting that snowball going. So that question is, can we finish this game in 37 seconds? So I think we can, honestly.
Yeah, with no interaction, yeah, we definitely can.
They got a 9, so they just freed the Fae, and they hit, what did they hit?
They hit a Phoenix.
They hit another Prankster.
Okay.
So their hand is Picklock Prankster. They have Picklock Prankster in the Adventure Zone. We know they have an Axe. There's a Phoenix in the bin. They obviously must kill the Reflection. I mean, copying Ripper would also be a pretty sick thing to do. I'd love doing that. So they're going to start by axing, sure. So Axe, another Phoenix. So they're starting to put it together. We'll see a Free the Fae here also, I assume. Nope, a Cruise. I mean, they're firing here. And this is a lot of why, you know, you can see the inevitability side. You know, without Graveyard Hate on our side, they're just doing their main plan. We played 4 Leyline at the Pro Tour because we didn't want the game to come to this, basically. You know, even though it's like the most blunt object, with Phoenix being the most played deck, we were pretty about it. Obviously, Phoenix is not as played now as it was. Now they're gonna have a huge Prankster, which is fine. We have these dual spells and stuff for it, but so they got 5 cards. Phoenix has come back. Counters go on the Prankster. They're like finally starting to do their thing after like, you know, a game and a half. So they have a 5/7 Sarah Angel, 2 Arclight Phoenixes, 5 cards in hand, 9 life. And that Axe is gone now, right? They use that, yeah. So, all right, draw. So, draw Cliffs. Where are we at?
It's got to be Sorin Ripper.
Yep, I agree. We're jamming Sorin. Resolves minus Ripper. we are... I guess... Sorry, the clock's just like, I'm gonna try to cast this. Cast at F6. If they have an axe, we're dead, obviously, so... Another Free the Fae, sure. 12 seconds! Pretty winnable, I think. They go to 7 off the push killing. If we attack.
Yeah, everything dies if they block with the Phoenixes.
Yeah, so... We're gonna probably just F6 and attack next turn, so... We're attacking everything. There you go.
Yeah.
10 seconds. This is exciting. You ever win a game on 0 seconds?
I've won a game on 0 seconds when my opponent had 1 second.
Damn, that's nice. Like I have like 1 or 2 0-second wins in my career. All right, so we're F6'd. They're also just at 3, so they've also used a number of axes as well. They can't really attack. We just F6 and attack, I think. Yeah.
Oh, just plus Sorin. Lightning heals their face.
I'm scared I don't have time. 7 seconds. It's a lot of clicks. Shit. Come on! 3 seconds!
Oh, you have to target them? Okay, great.
I
Oh, no.
No!
Ah!
I think I actually targeted... oh, no, I didn't. Never mind. All right, so whatever. That doesn't matter. Pretty funny for content, obviously. But yeah, definitely. Overall, I mean, we won this game. So we won the match, which is good. And some pretty good things to talk about. Honestly, great. So we'll pause here for a second, and then we'll fire up the next match. Also, we'll do one more match, I think. So, all right. So we're back in the booth. Questions, comments, concerns about that match?
Are you asking me or are you asking Chad?
You, yeah. Screw chat.
I think that was great. Chat. Yeah, me neither. I think I got a lot out of that. I think there were a lot of times where you disagreed with me and convinced me that what I was doing was wrong. I think attacking with the Mutavault, in particular, was a leak that I wasn't taking advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have jammed Sorin into that lightning axe, or not Sorin. I probably would have jammed Shieldred into that lightning axe and lost the game there. Because I thought that the alternative was to just make a mopey Thoughtseize play. But yeah, it was obviously much better to reverse those things. And yeah, learn to play faster as well.
We're almost there. I think the F6 attack might have been better, honestly. I think that because
maybe
it's one less button or whatever, but whatever. Neither here nor there. Typically, Magic Online clock management won't be a part of your RC. So, and if it is, call somebody. All right, cool. So we're gonna fire another match here, and then we're gonna rock and roll. All right, so match number 2 here, and I made a note. If they go turn 1 Spirebluff Canal, sleight of hand, I'm just gonna concede the match, and we'll play another match because I want to play the same matchup. We're on the draw, and opponent mulligans to 6. No companion. That's all the info we got. Where are we at?
Mull? Can't keep a one-lander here.
That's reasonable. I can see someone like talking themselves into it. Honestly, I don't think it's like as lopsided as you're saying it is. With 2 1-mana spells and a zealot, I can see someone talking themselves into this for sure. Like Seth might keep his hand also. Seth's psycho. But I agree. I agree with Mulligan. I think if you knew you were playing a bad matchup where Duress was very very good, maybe probably not. That's sure. So we'll Mulligan into pretty reasonable hand.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3 curve.
Yep. So. Gonna keep this one.
Take this, Ship of Springs.
Yep, pretty.
Well, yeah. We're not gonna have an opportunity to play the Blood Crypt without shocking it in if we don't keep the Springs. But the Springs is probably gonna cost us more life in the long run anyway.
Right, I agree. Yeah, we're just gonna shock in Blood Crypt on turn 1. I mean, maybe we'll play this on. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. But I agree. The Springs will do more damage in the long run anyway. So. All right, so we are on the draw. We got Razor Virtue Thicket and Veteran. Perfect. That's great. It's another pretty important matchup. That's also very different than the last one. So, they play Veteran, and tap, and we draw. We draw Mutavault. All right. What's up?
Well, they're gonna kill us by a mile if they do. So I'm fine shocking in the Blood Crypt Thoughtseize here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We're soft to Amalia. We don't have any removal. So we have to take it before they can go off with it.
Yeah, I agree with. We're also guessing Thoughtseize. I agree with the assessment that like the damage won't matter that much, but is there a reason why we would not play the pathway instead? Like, I agree. If it's a strong chance we're just playing this untapped next turn, but we draw Blackleaf Cliffs per se. Like,
yeah, I guess my instinct is to delay the decision on what side of the pathway to put it on, but yeah, it's going to be black. That's fine.
Yeah, I think with the Crypt and a Springs, we're fine on that. So, 5 Thoughtseize. We see a Court of Calling, a Specialist, a Confluence, and a Temple Garden. Note they mulligan to 6.
Yeah, Cord. It's got to be, right?
Why Cord? Why Cord over Specialist?
Well, Cord is they're 2 pieces away from the combo. They're not going to kill us without it. Cord is one of those pieces. It's a little while before it's turned on, but Specialist is basically a Grizzly Bear anyway. And we have Bloodtithe Harvester as an answer for it if they just play it out raw.
So I think I like that we're seeing a theme here. I think that you're kind of like I mentioned early on in our interview period, where I was saying you were thinking a lot about cards, not plays. Thinking about cards, not like kind of big picture, more macro stuff. Court of Calling, you're correct. Court of Calling is obviously a much better card in the deck than Extract Specialist is. But in the context of this game right here, Court of Calling is one of the worst cards in a low resource game. Right, they mulligan, they're on the play, so they're down a lot of cards. And they have 3 lands and a creature. They're not like they're still decently far away from it, especially if we end up killing their creatures or whatever. Whereas Specialist is a card that's very good at removal spells, also good at prolonging the game and keeping them alive. And we have a pretty aggressive draw here with Harvester into Preacher. I have not made the decision myself yet, but I think it's much closer than you're looking at it from. My gut tells me to take Specialist.
Okay.
I have to. You got to gut check yourself. A lot of high level players play on instinct a lot, but you do need to kind of like think about and check yourself sometimes too. But yeah, I think Specialist is the correct call here. I think that like this is gonna bring back the first thing they kill anyway. So it's sort of like our reverse Court of Calling, right? We're gonna kill things in this game. This is gonna bring the first one back regardless. And there's a good chance they may just never cast this Court of Calling, or might have to cast it for 1, or what else it might be. So I think Specialist is correct here. That's where I'm at. Okay. So take Specialist, and then we're gonna say go. And this is also predicated on the fact that like we have a curve out draw. If we had a Dust Legion Zealot into like I don't know nothing or whatever, like I would not be interested in doing this. But because we have kind of a faster draw, now this is pretty bad for us. So they drew a Scout. This is, them hitting a land here is the absolute best case scenario because this is a high resource card. It's 2 cards for 1, and right now they're resource hungry because they mulligan stuff, and it looks like they hit an Amalia. So
okay, so now we're in deep trouble.
So yes, oh, it's funny if they had been the Amalia, maybe they'd still listen to their hand, they would have got it back anyway. But yeah, so Scout 2 lands, their hands Confluence, Cord, and Amalia, and we do have some work to do. That is definitely true. So next turn, in theory, they could combo because they're all the way there, which is not cool. And yeah, we're just dead. So ended up not working out, which is fine. That was the best possible draw on their deck for sure in this spot.
Go ahead and play Sulphur Springs and say go. See if they commit to the line because it is kind of all in for them.
So let's think it through here. So if they're going to go land Amalia. And they probably just say go with our mana up and not need to try it. And then we're just in a game of chicken.
Yeah, I mean, the alternative is just losing.
Yes. I mean, it's, I guess not technically losing. They can't actually kill us, but they'll be a 70 life or whatever, effectively win the game. So, Preacher, Harvester. I agree with your line of thought. And the next step is to think about, okay, what else needs to happen here for us to win this game? So, is there a benefit to playing Springs over Mutavaults? I don't think so, right? Are they a mana
only like next level thinking. If you play the Mutavault, they might put you on Harvester, then you just didn't play it. So we want them to think there's removal in our hand. If we play it, something that could play Harvester, it's 1 less card we could have. But I think it's very thin.
To be clear, Chad, they have lethal. They just go mana Confluence, cast Amalia. Oh, I'm sorry. Are they? Oh, they 1, 2, 3. It's only 4 actually. I'm sorry. So
yeah, I guess they. Yeah.
I miss. Sure. So they don't have a lethal cord just yet. I apologize. That's on me. So
okay, then that changes it. Then we just jam Harvester here.
Yes,
right?
I agree. So yeah, unfortunately, their Amalia are probably outside the Harvester, but we have no other player anyway. So we can kill the veteran too. So my bad, miscounted mana. So Play Harvester, they go. So they're going to play Confluence. And now they have... The problem is they can court for a 1-drop. They can protect it, in theory, too. So we're in pretty bad shape, realistically.
And Amalia's going to grow as well, so we can't sack the Harvester to kill it.
Yeah, so they're going to go for hold up Chord, have a Walker, and then Amalia that way, maybe. So we get to untap here. And we draw a Fable. So now what?
Now if you tap out, you're dead. So we can't do that. Every play in our hand is tapping out. We can crack the blood. That looks a bit weak, but might be what we have to do. If we crack the blood and find there's no 1-drops in our deck, I guess we could find Thoughtseize. Maybe that's what we're going for here.
Why are we dead?
I mean, if they put the Walker in play and then jam Amalia, like if we tap out, they know the door's open to put Walker into play. Then they jam Amalia on their turn. They combo off.
But can't we just kill the veteran and break them up?
I didn't even think of that. That's true. Yeah, okay. I like that more.
So Amalia is, of course, a 3-piece combo. There's Amalia, Walker, and then something else has to happen, too. And while I agree it's not great to use our Harvester on the veteran, I think it's our only play here. Because I think that trying to leave up mana or whatever, and hope they don't go for it or whatever else might be, we need to tap out here. So we're going to make a bad exchange. It is what it is. And we're probably going to play Fable and just try and work our way out of it. So let's start. Also, this makes them commit to courting. So that might scare them off, maybe because it gets them different or whatever, too. So we're going to start here. So Harvester down, the veteran, and see what happens. Dies. Cool.
Nothing.
So now they have a Chord, Amalia, that's it. We have their entire hand. Courting for 1 doesn't really do a lot for them. I guess they can get another veteran if they want, but then they're stuck on not having a thingy, which is fine. So now what do we do?
I would play Mutavault Fable, go.
Strongly agree. Yes, Fable's our savior here, like it usually is. We're going to try and fix our hand. Probably dump Preacher and hope to draw Sorin or a removal spell, possibly both. Best case scenario next turn would be Fatal Push and Sword Ripper next turn. That would be ideal. But cool. Definitely, I've never played Amalia before. So as far as them not choosing to chord in response, I don't know if that's right or wrong or not. But it's the game we're in. So play their Confluence. They've got Amalia and Chord still in hand. And they have some choices to make. Gonna make a Phantom, sure. So this side does not combo with Amalia. This is whenever a creature would leave.
Well, something has to leave the battlefield, and then it triggers her. Yeah.
Right. So I guess with Amalia and this in play, and a Wildgrowth Walker, if we were to kill something, that would start the combo. Is that correct?
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Or if they kill one of our things. Yeah.
It's you control. So they one of their things has to die. Yeah. Cool. So we're on Zap. And they have Chord up for 1. We're going to draw. And we're going to Fable. We draw. All right, cool. That's one half the equation. And now it's time to discard for Fable. What are we discarding?
It's funny. We have Sorin Ripper. I think... I guess it's Preacher Springs.
Agree. Yeah, Springs too.
I want to keep the combo in hands. Yeah.
I think that you might want
to.
You might be inclined to be we want to be able to have a land to cast Thoughtseize or push if we draw it. We just want to go as deep as possible to find it, and this thing can make a treasure if we need it to. So, also you just draw a land. I'm pretty aggressive with my Fable discards. So, draw Harvester, draw Takenuma. Okay. So now what?
Let's just do the thing, right? Sorin, Vein Ripper, swing.
Okay, and then what's our plan for post swing world?
Well, we can at that point we can play Takenuma and play Bloodtithe Harvester if we want. They're gonna have a hard time comboing off next turn, I think, based on what's in their hand. If they draw land, I guess they play Amalia, then they can chord. Actually, they don't even need to have a land for that, right? They just play Amalia, and then they have chord X equals 2 next turn. Still not enough to combo, but if something dies, and then I don't know. I think that's what I'm doing, just because it's the best thing we can possibly do. We need the game to end quickly, and they're going to find the combo sooner rather than later anyway.
Okay. So yeah, I agree. I think it's important to think about like, okay, what's it going to look like the next turn? What's it look like from their point of view? And then like, what are we possibly drawing to? So we have this blood also, which is nice too. So, I think question's going to be, are we casting Harvester or not? But let's get there first. So cast Sword. Do the thing. We're very lucky. Pat ourselves on the back for being so good at Magic. Pop and Ripper. And then attack. I agree with all of that. So definitely starting there. Fire on the Shaman. It's going to be interesting to see if they want to block with their Scout or not, because the Scout has value, again, as a Chord of Calling piece. And again, it's kind of what I was saying about Chord, where it's a very resource-intensive card, and, like, it's not always easy to just cast a Chord. Like, things have to go, things creatures, kill things die, yada, yada, yada. So, here's Treasure. Here's the Shaman. No blocks. Sure. So now, post-combat, we have 2 mana. Our options are to cast Harvester, or to leave up a Blood and a Treasure. So we could go for a Hail Mary, Fatal Push, something like that if we're feeling that frisky. Or we can just main phase it and look for a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, I think... so we know that they can put Amalia into play and board for Walker, and if something dies, then they'll be able to set it off. And Blood Tithe Harvester can't swing without the threat of something dying. So it might not be a super useful card, whereas getting 1 card deeper into the deck, finding a Thoughtseize or something like that... to take Amalia or finding a Fatal Push is pretty likely, honestly. So I think I'm pitching the Blood, cracking the Blood now.
I agree. Although it is important to note that we can break up their combo. If they have Amalia, Walker, and this thing in play, we can just like sack a Vampire and kill the Amalia straight up. Like so, like the combo won't start because Amalia or Walker will be the first thing to die. So, yeah. But I agree with blooding here.
We can't do that in combat though, right?
Yeah, I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
At the start of next turn, it'd be your thing. So tap 1 and we'll blood. Discard Harvester. I think it's also kind of relevant here too. Like we have everything we need to win the game, so just try and find the really important cards. We draw a Duress. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that'll force a Chord X = 1, which they'll probably do. We're not casting it.
Yeah, I agree. So like this is gonna force them to Chord for 1. They're gonna probably get a Lunarch Veteran. And then they'll have Veteran Amalia in play and just be looking for a Walker. They draw it, we're dead. But I think that's fine. The other possibilities, I'm just having a Walker and a Amalia in play, and then having more of it, I think. So, and the thing is, if this is the right play to Chord for 1 and get the guy, they would do it instead anyway. So we might as well force the issue here, I think. And we have no more value for this card.
Duress isn't getting any better.
Yeah, we have no more value for the Duress anyway. So yeah, let's fire up the Duress. So they're going to Chord response, they're going to 1-drop, and then they have like 1 or 2 turns to put it all together. Taking 2 here is not nothing either, so.
Yeah.
Alright, so they Chord. Chord for 1. We're F6'd. There you go. So there's the Veteran, as predicted. We see their hand, it's Amalia. And hope I don't draw Wildlife Walker. Basically. No Walker, no Chord. That's mostly
yeah,
it,
right? They'll take 10 if they combo off from here. No, they'll take 12 if they combo off from here. Because Vein Ripper will see everything die.
But they'll have gained only 1 million life at that point, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like. It's funny. I played. Was it Waste Not at that RC in Atlanta? And I played against Amalia where, like, I could have beaten them even though they were 80 life. They didn't have, like, the whole, like, Aether Flux and everything, too. But it's definitely interesting to try and figure out what the game looks like after a combo and, like, try and see if you can win or not. So, Veteran, they also get some scries here, too, which is kind of annoying. They explore a Skyclave Apparition. It's going to go to the bin. So now we know they have 1 unknown card in hand. And here comes the Scout. So,
what is this?
So, I would assume this
is another life gain trigger?
This is them wanting to explore again, yes. They're going to gain 1 and get an Explore. Whereas if we just take this, they don't get to do that. What do you think?
Is there a I guess the question really is there a difference between them being at 16 or 17? And maybe there is.
It's Psyche Sword. I'm sorry. I didn't see the arrows or whatever. So.
Oh.
That's much more relevant. So, okay, so if they were attacking us, we were not going to block, because this will also grow the Amalia. If it goes to 4, we can't kill it as easily. But if Sora instead, we can't kill it anyway, so we're just going to block here, I think.
Okay.
So, block. Alright, so they get a trigger. They get to explore again, which is another surveil effect. They reveal a deep cavern bat, which I assume is going to go to the graveyard also. So, every explorer is 1 card deeper to find a quarter Amalia, or company of a spawn, I guess. And now they have a 4/4 Amalia, which is absolutely not great, but if this died, we couldn't kill it anyway. So, untap and draw a banger. Not really. It's a Thoughtseize. So, Fable flips, and now what?
Well, it's going to be very hard to kill that Amalia now. So if they have the combo, I don't think we can stop it by killing Amalia in response. We can try to. That sucks. If we Soar and fling something at the veteran and they chord in response for Wild Growth Walker, then they combo off, and that's bad news.
Well, they would have chorded. They would have chorded in response to the life gain trigger, right? Because they had a trigger from last turn.
That's true. Oh yeah, they don't have the green to chord.
They also
right.
don't have greens too, sure. But like, I think if they had, they would have done it in response to the thing dying for life gain too.
All right, then I think we start with the Thoughtseize, see what's up.
I agree. So I think our plan is, assuming things don't change because of the card in their hand, Thoughtseize, see what's up, and then just activate Mutavault, sack the Mutavault to kill the veteran, break up that part of their combo, and then just attack with Vein Ripper and kill them next turn. We're going to have Active Reflection too next turn too. So basically it's just a 1 turn. They have 1 turn to kill us. So sorry Thoughtseize, see what's up. Beseiju who endures.
That kills a Mutavault then.
Yeah, that is
Can't fling it.
A pretty interesting card. I'm glad we checked first. Okay, so now if we were to go for our Mutavault play, they would obviously just be Beseiju with response. They could also kill the Reflection, I suppose. But
we can't fling the Ripper,
So
right?
now,
well, if we can't animate Mutavault because it'll die to Beseiju. Flinging the Ripper, I think, is waving a white flag. I think we just go to combat. We swing with the Ripper, we Sauron plus onto Ripper, go to combat, and try to pressure them. Like just hit them with Vein Ripper in the air, and that's it.
Just 1 second. So we're at 16. That's 6. I mean, the Ripper's going to kill him next turn. I guess not necessarily, if they're going to gain some life, possibly either way. I think it comes down to, like, we could just force the action and make them do it. They still lose life from Ripper. That way we have an active reflection. The problem is if they draw out on us, we're just dead anyway. There's no way to really stop it. But what we're doing here is making them waste a land they could use for a possible land drop and keep our reflection alive for a guaranteed kill next turn. Is that worth it is the question, and the answer is I'm not sure.
It gives them a choice of what to kill. They can choose to kill Mutavault or Reflection.
Right. But I think I think they're going to defend their combo number 1, I think. It's like they do. This also is flying. This can block our Ripper. So we're actually not like super lethal lined up. They have another turn. So I think actually because of that. Okay, so now I figured it out. I'm sorry, but unfortunately, coaching a matchup I'm not familiar with is a little harsh. I'd figure it out too. But so because of this, they have a flyer. That means we do not have lethal over 2 turns. Therefore, Reflection is important to kill them next turn. Therefore, we should make them use the Beseiju on the Mutavault.
I buy that. That makes
sense. Cool. So fire at Mutavault. And we're doing this pre or post attacks. We should do this post attacks because it also threatens Amalia, and then we'll see if they block or not. We can reevaluate, and they'll have to reevaluate also. So yeah, attack first. I've played a lot of Phoenix vs. Vampires. So that one's second nature. Alright, attack, make a treasure. We are throwing away the Shaman if they want to block with Amalia. That does open it up to dying to... So that means they have to use Boseiju and Mutavault. Because the Amalia would die also. And then we had Treasure also, do some more damage. I think this is fine. So, they're going to chump block. Oh, cool. So, we get in for 2 or 0. We're actually not going to block with Amalia either. Interesting. So 4 damage gets through. Oh, never mind. The Veteran gets exiled, so it's not over trigger. Yep. Cool. And then we're going to fire up the Mutavaults and attempt to plus Sorin and see what happens. And this, I think the main purpose of this play is to defend our Reflection against their Boseiju. Because next turn we're going to have Copy Ripper and kill them. So we want to try and guarantee lethal as fast as possible. This does that. So they're going to Boseiju in response, which is fine. Nothing we can do about that, right? So they take some damage. Yeah, it's fine. So use the ability. Yes, we will. It's hidden over here. Get a Blood Crypt. This goes off. Always yes. Heal to this. Alright, so all is said and done. We will not be sacrificing the Ripper. We have no other way to win otherwise. So yeah, we just need to like hope that we miss her. So we got to fade for a turn here. So they need to not draw Company, Cord, or Wildgrowth Walker. So they're drawing pretty heavy, honestly. But it's an Overgrown Tomb, and there you go.
Bingo! All right.
So pretty interesting game. Needed to be worked through a little bit, obviously, but they're going to make us do it, obviously, because we have a low clock. They're going to attack Sorin. That's totally fine. And, yeah, we're good to go here.
They're just dead to 2 Rippers in the air.
It's always a good time when you're copying a Ripper with a Reflection, so send him a Clowns. All right, cool. So definitely an interesting game. Not as smooth coaching-wise on my end, because I definitely had to like think about something, figure it out, but cool. So, sideboarding-wise, where are we at?
Well, the first thing that's obvious is the 2 Knights come in. Because they turn off the life gain and shut off the combo. Cage works against Coco, it works against Ord, and it works against Extraction Specialists, so those come in. Purse I could be in for, but I'm not sure about that yet. Path of Peril seems strong, just to kill their fair game plan. And in terms of what comes out, I think I'll take out all the Zealots. I would take out the 2 Duress, I think, because I think very often it's just going to miss. So we're taking out 5 cards here. Is there anything else? I think the Croxa I would also take out. I think it's just kind of slow, and they often want stuff in their graveyard anyway. So I think I would do this, and I would bring in the 3 black cards, the 2 cages, and maybe K Command, honestly. Yeah. Oh, Heartless Act. Yeah. I didn't even see that on the board. Yeah. Great. I think this is it.
Why do you want Command?
Because it's a thing that kills Amalia, but it's very expensive. So I don't think I'm bringing in Command. I think just keep that out, and I think as you have it after that is right.
Okay. A few cards that I would like to board out. Shielded and Preacher, I think are both just way too slow and crappy. Blot Out is also pretty bad. It's just never going to hit what you want to hit, I think. Agree with Croxa. I'm honestly not sure about Duress. Because while it doesn't have many hits, the hits are the literal best cards in their deck by a mile. And there's some value to that, I think. I think we are becoming much more proactive post-board. We're going to kill things, get sore, and do our things. They're not going to stop us in any way. I definitely agree with Cages for sure. Like the Knights and Paths for sure. Harlow's Act is a little awkward because those things do have counters, obviously. But, and then the Zealots. It's weird because Zealot, I agree, Zealot is not great in a spot where we're trying to, like, kind of be fast and kill them. But it does draw to our better cards and kind of, like, have a bit of an engine capacity to it. So, like, I am not sure about the Command, the Zealots, or the Duresses. We have 15 seconds. I think we're just going to play it like this. I think the Duresses are fine. Sure. I think that we have enough filtering in our deck where, like, we can discard them if they feel like they're irrelevant. But I think that, like, if we ever Duress a Company or a Cord, it's exceptional. And it's sort of understanding just like the texture of the important cards in the matchup, how things are going to play out, and just like what games that we win look like. Discarding one of their key cards, kill their shitters, and go from there. So I'm not sure if the boarding is correct, but whatever, it is what it is. So here we go on the draw. They kept 7.
Easy keep. 2 lands is a little sketchy, but we have 2 draw steps plus a Dusk Legion Zealot to find the 3rd. We have a removal spell for Amalia. I'm happy with this. Half the combo.
Love it. Thicket. Veteran. All right. So this looks familiar. We're going to untap, fire up a Thoughtseize, almost assuredly. We draw a Blood Crypt. Where you at land-wise here?
Pathway on black. Thoughtseize.
Very similar to last game, so just an actual mirror of the last game. And Thoughtseize will show us. They're going to have a 5-card hand and a 4-card hand this time. We got Walker, Return to the Ranks. Company, Innkeeper, Beseiju.
Company is the one card that's very difficult to play around. Return to the Ranks, obviously, if we kill anything, it's coming back, but it's sorcery speed, if I remember. That is the sorcery speed one, right? There's an instant speed one that
Correct.
Also does a similar thing. Yeah. So I think it's Company. The Innkeeper duplicates the Veteran. Wildgrowth Walker just comes back easily with Return to the Ranks, and Company is the hardest card to deal with.
I agree that it's Ranks or Company. I am not sure because the Return to the Ranks is quite good. If we're killing things, obviously, it gets things back easily. They have double white for the Evoke creature. And this, I guess they have Innkeeper for the mana, though. So my tiebreaker was only 2 lands, but I guess the Innkeeper gets them there to the Company. So I agree. Yeah, and without the Innkeeper, if this was like another Veteran, might be a little less inclined to take the Company, but I agree. So take Company. And then your hand's revealed. That's fine. We're just going to say go. I would say a better hand for them this game. They have a little more action going on. Return to the Ranks is pretty scary. So what does Return to the Ranks do to this game, do you think? Now, one of the important things we're kind of discussing is like kind of adapting and being able to adapt to the game state as it is in a macro sense, not necessarily like a card by card sense. So because they have Return to Ranks in their hand, how does our game plan change?
Well, it makes trades worse for us, obviously, because every time we trade, it's just one more thing they'll get back with Return. It makes it all the more important, I think, to keep up instant speed interaction to beat that. And it makes us not want to put any particular combo piece in the graveyard because it's not really gone for good.
Okay, I think you've diagnosed the symptom or whatever, but I have not come to the right conclusion. So I think that everything you said is correct, but the end result of what happens is that we need to be more aggressive. Our goal is to be a beatdown deck, basically. Our goal is to kind of ignore their creatures if we can, essentially, and kind of just like do our thing a little more linear-wise, try and present our threat a little less than trying to kill their stuff. Because right now, killing their stuff isn't a super viable plan because they have their Return to the Ranks. So, play our own threats. We can dig for a Thoughtseize or Address to deal with this. Graphicer's Cage, something like that could do it as well. But kind of getting going in that regard, doing our thing. Does that make sense?
Sure, I buy that.
Cool. So, another Veteran. And a Dina. They're just going for the life gain synergy kill. Okay, so they are going to Dina us with all these life gain triggers. We're actually already at 12, which is interesting. Whenever you gain life, we lose 1. And they have 3 Soul Wardens in play. We're going to untap and draw a Haunted Ridge. Now what?
Well, I'm thinking about our attacks. If we attack with Blood Tithe Harvester, they can double block with the Lunarch Veteran and then get a bunch of life gain triggers and drain us with Dina. So attacking with Blood Tithe Harvester doesn't seem super appetizing to me. I think it's just Ridge Fable. Can't think of anything else.
I think that if we attack, there's very little chance they block. What benefit does blocking give them? At 26 life, I think they want to keep all these creatures in play and kind of keep doing their thing. So regardless of that, I think we're just not attacking anyway. I think we could just kill the Innkeeper, but it's not particularly great either. I agree we're just casting Fable and probably just saying go here. I don't think there's a need to kill the Dina yet. And now we have 2 blockers for their shitters too, so kind of a weird spot where we were just discussing how we're kind of the beatdown deck, and then all of a sudden, boom, they played a Dina, which is a weird card, but things just changed a lot, I think. So Sacrifice the
Yeah.
creature. Okay, so they shock in their Overgrown Tomb. It says the ability to do 1 sack creature plus X plus O or X is the creature's power, which is fine, I guess. We get a 9, they get a 27. And this is the most aggro Amalia draw I've ever seen.
Yeah, usually I'm not worried about them killing me with Plan B.
Right. The plan B of Amalia is usually pretty anemic, so... Alright, we get to tap and fire up some Fable discards and kind of go from there, so... Hopefully we'll be able to piece it together. I would say a way to kill Dina and a way to kill his return to the ranks would be pretty cool. But also they still have 2 parts of their combo in play too, so... I don't know, we'll see. Alright, so... Fable time. Draw. Fable. Yes. What are we discarding?
I think I like Cliffs and Zealot, because Zealot's only really good for the card draw anyway, and this turns it into that. And it guarantees that we'll hit the mana next turn. Or this turn, rather.
Zealot does go deeper. And if I think the fear is not drawing. I mean, if we draw a land off the Fable, I want to discard another land. But I think I agree. I think making a land was pretty important, so... Alright, so we draw... Ooh, that's a card.
That's sick.
Okay, now what?
I mean, we're certainly playing the Knight. The question is, are we also holding up Bitter Triumph or not? We are at 9. Yeah, I'm going to play the Sulphur Springs Knight and go.
So I think that, like...
attack with... Yeah, go ahead.
I think that the Shaman attack is very valuable, because I think once the Knight's in play, they gotta deal with that now, too. And the casting Rippers now our plan, I think. We want to get Knight in play and then end the game as soon as possible. So making mana to cast is important. We could use Triumph to help push it through if a double block also. We should do all of this before casting Knight as well, so they don't know what's going on. So I think we attack with Shaman first. And then we're prepared to use Triumph, maybe even to go to 6, because we want to keep our mana also. But I'm not sure. I think we should see what they do first. But I think that, like, with the Knight available, you want to use your hate pieces, not like prison pieces, like, okay, you're screwed, end the game as fast as possible before you find an answer to it. So I'm feeling the clock pressure a little bit again, so. Is there... They get Dina... The thing is, if they double block or Dina sack, our Triumph gets really, really good. So...
Yep.
Inducing that is good. We really just want to get the treasure. That's something we care about the most, so... Cool. So this is great, I think. I'm very happy about this. So... We got that going for us. Oh, they're going to go for it. Wow, okay. Sick.
Get off my
okay, so sack a veteran. Now we're definitely killing Dina to keep our guy alive, I think. It's definitely worth it.
Yep.
And then I think that, I think we can afford the life here. If we discarding a Blood Crypt is counterproductive to our Vein Ripper plan. I guess we could cast Ripper off of the treasure the next turn, too.
I think I'm pitching probably the Spring, or... it's pitching the Blood Crypt, playing Springs, playing Night, go.
Okay. We don't have time to think about it like super thoroughly. I'm not sure. So you want the land to cast Ripper and stuff, but we have enough treasure anyway next turn, so I think it's okay. So this worked out very well for us. This is a really common limited thing, honestly, where you induce your opponent to double block and then blow them out for a 2-for-1, which is great. So, all right, and then we go land, and then we go Knight, and then we have 6 and try and win this game in time. And now I think we're in great shape. So now they have 1 card and return to the ranks. We've done a pretty good job of making his turn the ranks not matter that much. Obviously, they can return back the Dean and the veteran, but like, whatever. I guess they can't get life anyway, so who cares? They play Confluence. I'm gonna get back both. Sure, that's great. Why not F6? Why not F6? So,
That feels nice.
I missed the little purple whoa for things that don't work on Arena. Cool. And now I think we're in great shape. They have 0 cards in hand. They have not completed the combo. I guess they kind of have the combo of just like Dina plus Soul Wardens, I guess. But all right, so this flips, and I think at this point we're very happy to just jam, get treasure, cast Ripper, and just say go, right?
Yeah. Yes.
If Goblin Shaman dies now, whatever, it did its job. So. Wow. That's kind of weird. Sure. All right, so black. Yes. Ripper. Hot Ripper. Let's go. Come on, Magic Online. You're chugging through here for me. Come on, help me out. All right, it's F6 go. So they need to deal with our Knight. I would say that they perhaps don't need to actually combo to kill us. If they just deal with our Knight, they might be able to kill us with Dina triggers. Although things flip really fast next turn, because now we also have a reflection as well. So
yeah.
They're about to take a ton of damage. Untap, draw. We're also going to get a bunch of life, too, so that turns off their Dina plan.
Yeah, you can also harvest through the Dina if you're scared.
Yeah. We can copy the harvest. Yeah, we're going to copy the Ripper, I think, for sure. I don't want to kill this. I don't think so. I think we... Sorry, I want time out. I'm sorry, blood.
Yep.
Sick. Okay. Covering all of our bases here. I guess it's very, very important. I think a common thing that people do is they try and sit behind their hate pieces and not end the game. I think that's what they do, actually. So we're getting a bunch of life here, too, right? We're going to gain... when the Ripper dies, we'll gain 4. If anything blocks, we gain more. Yeah, this is great. So, 2-turn clock, and now with the Cajun play, I don't think have any outs at all, honestly. So, sure, great.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Sick.
It would have to be like Coco into Skyclave Apparition plus Amalia.
But they can't Coco. They can't Horde.
Oh, yeah, Cage turns that off. Yeah, they have nothing, yeah.
Yeah, like, so the Cage really locks it up. I think Double Ripper and the Knight's pretty good, too, but... Alright, there's things die. Okay, always yes this. There's... No, that's always the thing. Oh, cool. You go to 4. Oh, there's actually dead. Cool. Alright, great. We did it. You won in time. Alright, we didn't time out. Great.
Amazing.
Awesome. So, let's pop back to our big cam scene here. And successful. Great. You know, always feels good to win your coaching games, obviously, so I don't look like an idiot. That was a little harder for me coaching-wise because, like, it's not a match I've played a lot. So, like, when I have to think a little more on my side, it's harder to be a little more, whatever, instructional or whatever. But overall thoughts on the match and the matchup?
Playing against Amalia is hard. They make you... It makes you stretch your brain in a lot of different ways, thinking of how they could possibly kill you at instant speed. It's always threatening to kill you. And I am not fluid enough with the Vampire's lines to be good in this matchup, but it does feel like with simple removal spells and Sorin Vein Ripper, it should be an okay matchup, even if you're not favored.
Where'd you go? What happened?
Oh no. What's happened?
Yeah, I we actually had it as like not a great matchup for us, the PT. I would say Business has more hate than we did. We didn't have cages or anything. We didn't have cages or knights. I think Seth might have played a cage or a knight. I don't remember, but Seth was a little different than ours. But yeah, it's a challenging matchup for sure. So cool. So are you still there? Is your camera?
I'm still here. I'm just screwing with my camera. Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. So but yeah. So overall, to wrap up, I'm just gonna pause so you finish the thing. All right. So the camera's not working. It's totally fine. Whatever. So overall thought. Oh, there you go.
Hi.
We did. Cool. All right. So overall thoughts on things we just discussed. You know, the overall feel of the things you might have learned. What do you think? Talk to me.
I think this was great. This is kind of what I mean when I say that I had hit a plateau, because all of the things that I was saying during these games sounded perfectly reasonable to me, and you suggested a lot of better lines that didn't even occur to me at all.
Okay.
So I think just having an extra set of eyes from a competent Magic player, even if you weren't a good coach, would be helpful. So just working with other people in general. And it was helpful to think of the game in terms of something other than card v card, and more in terms of objective v objective, trying to figure out what we're trying to do and what they're trying to do, and sort of steering the game as opposed to just tactically dealing with it turn by turn.
I think that's good. That's a very good takeaway. I think that's the biggest thing I would say as well, is that you know, having to talk to you for about 2 hours, hearing you talk about yourself playing the game outside of the game, and then hearing your lines in a game, I would agree. I think that your biggest area for improvement is most likely just overall macro, kind of like game theory, sort of like, okay, like what's happening in this game, what's important in this game, what's the next 5 turns look like, rather than they could have this one card, or if I have this card and they have this card, what happens, so bigger picture, kind of looking at, okay, what are my goals, what's the game going to look like as far as when I win and so on and so forth, and kind of who's the beatdown and stuff, which is great. I would say if you want homework, fire up a draft. I think that as far as I know you're making a face or whatever, but I think seriously that a lot of the things we're discussing are symptoms of playing only one kind of deck, playing decks that are much more linear or polarized. You were saying, control and combo are 2 very, very polarized decks, and you're struggling in the spots where it's not polarized. I have to decide. Don't want to lean this way, don't want to lean that way. How's this game going to turn? When does it turn? What are the inflection points? Those are the things you learn in playing. I mean, Limited is a way to do it, but even just like playing other decks as well. So I would strongly personally encourage Trilo Limited. Honestly, hang out with Nerd Girl. Why don't you just hang out and do a draft together, and like just, try and find something to make it fun for yourself, because it is a bit of taking your medicine, where in a lot of things, I don't like doing suicides in hockey, but hey, if I want my card to be reasonable for the third period of a game, you got to do it. Some parts of getting better at things aren't necessarily fun, but you try and find ways to make it fun for you, So I think that would be a really good thing to do, and kind of go into those with the concept of, okay, I'm going to try and work on these areas, because you need to work on certain areas of your game. I think your format knowledge, card evaluation all seems very, very reasonable, and stuff like that. But as far as macro stuff goes, that's what you need to work on. So that's my homework for you. Obviously, I'm not your teacher, so you can do whatever the hell you want. Tell me to fuck off. That's fine too. But yeah, I think it's a good way to go. Any parting words?
No, this was a ton of fun. I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Sweet. Yeah, honestly, I mean, I had a lot of fun doing this as well. I do kind of miss coaching, honestly. I did enjoy it. I do have kind of teaching background also. Yes, hockey references are obviously very, very ideal for this scenario. Airball also plays hockey, so, but sweet. So, yeah, for all you YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe. Want else to shout yourself out as far as your content goes? Where can they find you and your content?
Yeah, you can find me at Airball MTG on Twitch and on YouTube, and also at the Commander show Decked Out.
Sweet. All right, so YouTube folks, like, comment, subscribe. Airball, thanks for coming on, and appreciate it.
See you guys.